I mean, someone's linking it in here already. Jewish settlers stole my house. It's not my fault they're Jewish. Palestinians are told the words we use dwarf the decades of violence enacted against us by the self-proclaimed Jewish state. A drone is one thing, but a trope is unacceptable no more. He wrote this in September 26th, 2023. Okay, September 26th, 2023. When we were growing up in occupied Jerusalem, the people seeking to expel us from our neighborhood were Jewish, and their organizations often had Jewish in their name. So were the people who stole our home, scattered our furniture in the street, and burned my baby sister's crib. The judges banging their gavels in favor of our expulsion were also Jewish, and so were the lawmakers whose laws facilitated and systematized our dispossession. If you remember, I jokingly sometimes refer to this as, everybody always says, oh, Jews control the media. Jews control the media in Israel, okay? Jews control the government in Israel. That's because Israel is a Jewish ethno-religious supremacist fascist state. And not only are they doing this, but they're also saying we're doing this for Judaism. Although it's incorrect, it doesn't change that dynamic one bit from the perspective of the victims. Okay? I've spent a good deal of time talking about this when it comes to the Star of David, right? When people go to Jewish homes in France, in America, and spray paint the Star of David outside of their homes, that's likely that a hate crime could occur there, an anti-Semitic hate crime that could occur. That's what you're signifying, right? You're marking the Jew. In the West Bank, it's the Jewish settlers themselves that go and spray paint Palestinian homes with the Star of David to get them to leave that house before they firebomb it. That dynamic is very real for Palestinians. Palestinians have never experienced a world where their oppressors were not Jewish. Okay? That's the dynamic that exists on that side of the world in general. A lot of people have made, a lot of hay about the Ansar Allah movement, like, oh, they have a curse upon the Jews in their banner. This is a conversation that has happened over and over again. Okay? This is how it is. In that part of the world, Judaism and Zionism is inseparable. It's not something, at least in contemporary society, Judaism and Zionism is in exchange. It's not separate from one another. Okay? Is not. And that's what the Israeli state does. The Israeli state also does that here in the Western world in an effort to engage in propaganda. Yes, inextricable was the word I was looking for. I just didn't roll off my tongue, so I just gave up on it. Okay? That's it. That's the design. The bureaucrats issuing and sometimes revoking our blue ID cards was a Jew, and I especially despise him because of the stroke of his pen stood between my father and my father's great-great-grandfather's city. As for the soldiers who were frisking us to check for those IDs, some of them were Druze, some Muslim, most of them Jewish, and all of them, according to my grandmother, were godless bastards. Those who administered the rifles and handcuffs, those who wrote the meticulous and murderous urban plans were, you guessed it. This was no secret. We lived under the rule of the self-proclaimed Jewish state. Israeli politicians have exhausted this line, and their international peers nodded along. The army declared itself a Jewish army and marched under what is called a Jewish flag. However, this is not a religious conquest, regardless. That's my assessment of it, right? This is settler colonialism. It can take many different forms. It just happened to take the Jewish form, okay? But ultimately, the violence of it remains the same. And anyone that thinks this is like a war between Jews and Muslims is wrong. Completely wrong. And Palestinians themselves would be the first to tell you that as well. They understand that deeply. This is the reason why, for many American Jews that go to the West Bank, like Cameron, for example, and he talked about this as well, so I don't feel bad revealing this, but like it's almost like a shameful experience because here in the United States of America, you could say you're an anti-Zionist Jew, and you don't have much connection to Israel, right? Maybe you learned that Israel was good and it was awesome, and maybe you believed it for a little bit, but then you like woke up to the reality and you no longer fuck with Israel. But like that is no longer a thing that you can shed yourself of when you're there. The shame grows from, at least from all of my Jewish friends that I've talked to that have experienced this in real time. When they go, they're like, this is shameful, a real shame. And that shame also comes from something that it almost feels like it's something that you can't wash off because you're there. And this is what the state is doing. And from the perspective of the victims, like the state is saying, we're doing this for Judaism. You know, it's like being a Jets fan, but everywhere you go, everybody knows you're a fucking Jets fan. And also the Jets are doing a genocide. And now you just have to, you're stuck with it. Everybody knows. Okay? You can't escape it. Anyway, the Israeli nation-state law explicitly enshrines Jewish settlement as a national value to encourage and promote. Still, though, this was no secret, we were instructed to treat it as such, sometimes by our parents, sometimes by well-meaning solidarity activists. We were instructed to ignore the Star of David on the Israeli flag. It distinguished Jews from Zionists with surgical precision. It didn't matter that their boots were on our necks and that their bullets and batons bruised us. Our statelessness and homelessness were trivial. What mattered was how we spoke about our keepers, not the conditions they kept us under, blockaded, surrounded by colonies and military outposts, or the fact that they kept us at all. The reason why obviously, like I take a very different approach when I'm talking about these issues is because, one, bigotry is important to me. I think bigotry is a bad value, a bad way of thinking, right? And it will inevitably produce the wrong results. But also because if you're in fucking America, right? Like this is not something that you are personally experiencing. Okay? So you can't lean into this shit. Because then you're leaning into a different form of oppression. Okay, regardless of there being no systematic form of discrimination that Jews experience en masse right now, even though there was systematic forms of discrimination that Jews experienced in American history and certainly throughout the world, as it stands in contemporary society, this is not comparable to Islamophobia, not comparable to anti-black, anti-brown versions of bigotry, right? Yes, I'm Dr. Jihad. Welcome to I have a dual major in racism and also jihad. Welcome to the racism component of the Dr. Jihad broadcast. Sit down. Sit your white ass down and listen. Okay? Bigotry is important to me. I contain multitudes. Even more dangerously, believing the wrong things rendered you deserving of this brutality. Citizenship and the right to movement weren't the sole privileges robbed from us. Simple ignorance was a luxury as well. As Palestinians, we understand from a young age that the semantic violence we practice with our words dwarfs the decades of systemic and material violence enacted against us by the self-proclaimed Jewish state. A drone is one thing, but a trope is unacceptable. We learn to internalize the muzzle. So I heeded these calls. What else is a 10-year-old supposed to do? And I learned about Hitler and the Holocaust. I learned about the nose stereotype, the poison wells, the bankers, the vampires, the snakes, and the lizards. I found out about the octopus. And I learned that when speaking to diplomats visiting our zoo of a neighborhood, the settlers squatting in our home must be secondary point in my presentation, second to an effusive denunciation of global anti-Semitism. And when my 80-something grandmother addressed those foreign visitors, I corrected her mid-sentence when she described the Jewish settlers in our house as, well, Jewish. A decade and some years later, and not much has changed. The boot remains there, so are the bullets and batons, and I would be remiss not to mention the innovative genius of the AI-powered robot firearms recently added to the Jewish state's arsenal. The government titles its project in the Galilee as the Judaization of the Galilee, and its quasi-institutions do the same. As for the council members that promise to take house after house alongside their success in stealing houses, In Sheikh Jarrah, the old city Silwan, and elsewhere, they routinely march in our towns with megaphones and flags chanting, "We want Nakba now." The judges still bang their gavels to ensure the continuation of this Nakba, still rule in favor of Jewish supremacy. And despite disagreeing with Supreme Court on various things, parliamentarians legislate in accordance. Yeah, by the way, this is before October 7. Just so you guys understand. Like this piece was written actually very close to October 7, 2023. This is September. Two weeks before October 7. Legislate in accordance with that supremacist attitude. Some openly state the fact that Jewish life is simply more important than our freedom. And sometimes they're even nice enough to apologize to Arab TV presenters as they deliver them these hard truths. A decade and some years later, the status quo remains as is. And we, how my heart breaks for us, we continue dancing among the landmines. We continue betting on morality and humanity, and they bet on their guns. A few weeks ago, 16 Israeli police officers turned off their body cameras and branded physically etched the Star of David into the cheek of a 22-year-old Orwa Sheikh Ali, a young man they arrested from the Shufa refugee camp. I don't know if you remember that story. It was gruesome. You should invite Yanis Varoufakis. He has insane takes on the Iran-Israel war. Jihad Abi, what is he saying? Yanis Varoufakis has no bad takes. Only takes that take time for you to understand. How are you not deported for being a terrorist supporter? I don't support the Israeli state. So, asked and answered. Do you? I still don't think you should be deported, though. Maybe educated. Maybe get an education. Yup, I find Western leftists effusively mention their fight against anti-Semitism. They give it the same energy regarding anti-black hate. They'd make John Brown proud, but they do that to protect their brand of leftists. That's cynical, at least if you're talking about me. Because I literally combat all versions of bigotry all the same. I'm very careful. Regardless, look what that has done to my brand, right? I obviously don't do it because I'm like protecting my brand identity or something. I don't do it because it's going to give me like a tactical advantage. I do it because I think it's right. Especially because for most people, there is no, Neek skit. Look. So basically, be more nuanced with the reaction depending on context. Like, don't cancel a veteran shot by the Taliban for being a little Islamophobic, even while understanding that it's bigoted and wrong. Do you think that the veteran, do you think that the person that like invaded Afghanistan that got shot by the Taliban is right to be Islamophobic? Do you think that the Palestinian is invading Israel with their existence in this equation? You can't be this stupid, right? There's no way. No, of course not. Oh, of course not. So why'd you use such a stupid fucking, why'd you use such a stupid example? It is wrong to conflate a religion with the state. Yes, I agree. But the state in this circumstance that is doing the harm, just like the the veteran that is invading Afghanistan is doing the wrong thing. Okay? The dude in the Taliban is just an Afghan dude. Okay? What do you mean trauma response? The fuck are you talking about? There's no comparison between a dude invading Afghanistan and a Palestinian living under Israeli occupation. Are you fucking stupid? If anything, it's like getting mad at the Afghan dude for shooting at the American occupier. Bro, you are so white, it's impossible. I never actually thought that someone was capable of comprehending. Like, this is, I never thought that someone could come up with such a silly example. It's like equating rape and being raped. Is this person for real? Yeah. No, literally. I'm sorry, I genuinely might have misunderstood you here. No, the misunderstanding is not stemming from what you're hearing and refusing to comprehend. It stems from the biases that you hold, okay? You have some tremendous biases that make it impossible for you to see a situation where, like, the dude invading Afghanistan is always in the wrong, as opposed to the dude, shooting at the dude invading Afghanistan. And in the same situation, the Israeli settler is always in the wrong, as opposed to the Palestinian who is simply living his life under Israeli occupation. They are acting out systemic forms of oppression. But because you're a white dude from Utah who joined the ROTC, you will never understand. You will never be a victim of systemic oppression. The most you will ever feel is the perceived oppression when someone says, like, cracker or something. You know what I mean? Which is not comparable at all. Bless your heart for trying. Give it another 2 years. Neek Skip will be in here scolding you like a bad empanada viewer. That makes sense. I definitely need to do more reading. It's not about reading, brother. Just close your eyes and think. There are reports coming out of China and Iran that Netanyahu has been killed. What does this mean for us now that the U.S. president is dead? Okay, guys, what the fuck are we talking about, dude? The only reason why people feel that is because what? He didn't show up to the fucking military. Yeah, Netanyahu, for the first time in Israel's history, is absent from the military council meeting. I don't know why you guys are, like, setting yourself up for tremendous sadness when you find out that he is very much alive, okay? Yeah, source, I hope. This is serious, Hasan. The leader of the free world is gone. I don't think he's gone, man. Neek Skit. What are you? Oh, he's just showing his earlier takes. You haven't seen the AI video that has 6 fingers? You don't think the Americans unalived him so we can have peace in the Middle East? First of all, no. Why would America kill its own president? Okay? It doesn't work that way. It only works in the opposite direction. Okay? America will never kill its real president. Okay? That's number one. Number two. Yeah. Number two. I said real president. People are talking about JFK. I said America would never kill its real president, but American presidents could die potentially, like Charlie Kirk. I'm, of course, talking about Charlie Kirk. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are Charlie Kirk. Yeah, that's okay. It was Revenge of the Kirks. Giannis talks about how Iran was going to westernize, started with the Obama administration and Western companies were ready to jump in Iran after some reforms in Iran, but then Trump got elected and Netanyahu stopped that from happening since he wants that war for 30 years. Okay, you consider that to be a bad take? You presented this as you should have Giannis Varoufakis on. He has insane takes on Iran-Israel war and then just delivered literally the most normal and correct take of all time. What is insane about that? That is a terrible take. It's not a terrible take at all. Yes, it's correct. It's 100% correct. First of all, fuck westernization, but like, yes, the whole point of sanctions relief that accompanied the JCPOA was to open up Iran to the global marketplace. Iran was already fucking... You know, this is not about westernization. You probably misunderstood what he was saying. It's more so about allowing Western capital to flow back into the country, which is true. That's literally the whole point of the fucking JCPOA. Maybe the Iran wanted to align with the West thing. That's also not incorrect. Iran has literally always wanted to align with the West. That's just objectively true. What the fuck do you think they were doing every single time? They were like, all right, I guess this time we can have a negotiation. Oh shit. Turns out this negotiation was a lie. I guess this time we can have a negotiation. Oh shit. Now that negotiation is thrown aside by the next president that came in. Okay, I guess this time that very same president that ripped apart the previous negotiation that we had successfully implemented will finally do a negotiation with us. Oh shit, they're bombing us now. Okay, well, some time has passed since the last 12-day bombing campaign. I'm sure that America will come to the table and negotiate with us as even partners, right? Oh my God, they're bombing us again. Oh my God, they killed the Ayatollah. Well, it kind of felt like he was the only guy who was really, really adamant about negotiating with the West. So maybe now that he's gone, maybe there is no more negotiation with the West. I don't think he's dead because I don't think he's in Israel in the first place. I believe he didn't show up because that would look bad for him being outside of Israel with the population are under war that he started.